Hello and welcome back to Blue Marble Photography. My name is Mark Stephen Wade and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about composition, and it's not so much about what to do in your composition, but how to think about your composition. And first and foremost, we can learn a lot about how to build a photograph, all the graphic elements that go into it, and which are all the same, right? Just like every artist has ever done since the beginning of time. Lines, shapes, and tones, and nowadays color. And so when it comes to perspective, that is really what we're going to talk about today. Now, you might know all those compositional rules, and you may be able to execute them beautifully in your camera. You might be able to put that element in the front, that's in the foreground, that is a interest that adds some sort of context to your shot, and you know exactly how to get all the elements in detail if that's what you do. Maybe you stack your few images and that's what you do. And that's great. Now, understanding that takes a long time. It takes a lot of practice. And it's, you're walking in the path of all the masters before you doing that. But there's something else about what's going on with when you're building your composition. Say you make that shot. Say you make that perfect shot and you know that it's perfect, right? And it's perfect for a lot of different reasons. It's perfect because all the masters before you have done it. And maybe you're emulating something like that. But there's something else besides becoming equal to a master, right? It doesn't mean that you have your own voice necessarily, just because, I can shoot the same kind of shot like Ansel Adams. Well, there are full-on groups who go out and try to make the same shots as Ansel Adams. And what have they done? Well, they've made the same shot as Ansel Adams. Who did that how long ago? In the early 20th century? Okay? That's my point. My point is, that's okay to do that, because you learn things doing that. But perspective is your own thing. It's you, yourself. Now, it took Ansel Adams to go up onto a mountain to get a different perspective. He had to think that way first. He was probably on, I don't know, I didn't read any of his books, so I don't know what he did. But maybe he was shooting from the valley floor and thought, you know what, if I go up on that mountain and I make a shot, I think that will be better. So he probably the next day or week or whenever the next time he was there, wherever it was, he went up and got a different perspective. And that made the shot. And so that's my point for this video, is just because you can make a great shot doesn't mean that that's the end of it. And as every good photographer knows, once you make that shot, which is great, you change your perspective. And you maybe are looking for something else in the area, or maybe you're pointing your camera in a little different direction. Maybe you're lowering the camera, or maybe you're getting a drone. And look, right? Look at drones. Look at what they've done for photography. Look at that perspective. This perspective of being up above everything and looking down. Perspective is, in my mind, once you get the shot you think you want, it's 100% of the next shot. Because just because we think we got the shot doesn't mean that there isn't a better one. That's what a good photographer does. I remember one of the photographers that I watch a lot. He likes to do a lot of sunset shots, and sunset shots have been done ad nauseum, right? There's so many of them. You see them. That's the most popular photograph probably out there, is the sunset. And, we just way overdo it, and people were getting bored of it. If you remember G+, Google, That's what many people were saying. I'm sick of seeing sunsets, which I never tired of them. I love sunset shots. I always do, because they're all different to a certain degree. But what this one photographer did, and I don't need to name him. He knows who he is. He started, well, actually, I don't know that he started waiting, but during this time, he was making after sunset shots. And his main point is just this. Once the sun goes down, that's when the real color starts to happen. And the sunsets are great, but it's after the sun goes down that we really start seeing color. And I had known this already. That's really where I was basing a lot of my abstracts on, was the color of the sunset. Well, not the sun itself. Why would I shoot the sun, especially if I'm doing long exposures? It's the color that happened afterward. It's that perspective that added to my voice. And my point is not that that's what you do, although you might want to try it. My point is to think beyond what you think you know. The problem with a lot of photographers, not all of us, just a few, with a lot of photographers is once they get their voice, then that's what they purport to be the right way of doing things. And it's not. It's all about handling light. Yes, all photography is about handling light. And we're going to talk about that too. And because handling light is not as difficult as we all think it is. Although it is difficult sometimes. Like I talked about having my video cam in auto ISO, and it was jumping in and out of exposure left and right. So those kinds of mistakes can plague us. But handling light becomes just understanding those basics that we talked about in the very beginning. 3 or 4 basics, and now you can handle light. And it's all about, if you're talking about artificial light, it's about putting different lights in different positions until you get what you want. But handling light is just the beginning. And then understanding that once I make a photograph, or if I'm making even a video, I need to understand that changing my perspective, where I'm standing, maybe my focal length, maybe my depth of field, changing my perspective might change up everything. And it might change the very way I think about approaching my photographs. So that's my advice to you. And that would be the next thing that I would do in my photography walk, if I haven't practiced it yet, is practicing changing my perspective. I may get a great shot of something, but maybe there's a better position, or maybe there's a better aperture, or maybe there's a better field of view. Maybe I should be wider. Maybe I should be zoomed in more. Maybe the fact that I see a speck of red up on that hillside, and I'm only saying this because I did this. Maybe I should go get that red and see what it is. I need to get closer and find out what it is. Change your perspective and don't get stuck. And don't get arrogant about your photography work, because knowledge makes us arrogant if we're not careful. That's my advice to you. Go out and practice it, and may you become an avid photographer. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.